and yes.
Yes.
Best day of the week is right
The
back at you.
best day
Thursday, ladies
of the
and
week.
gentlemen. Thursday. Welcome, one and all to Dating University, the best podcast that your next door neighbor should be listening to. So,
Now that's a new one. Because somehow I was looking
I
at,
got one every week.
because I was about to type in Dating University and then I looked up because I heard a new one. You're very creative.
I'm
You're
trying,
very
Brett.
creative.
I'm trying, Brett. How are you, Professor Brittany?
Oh my gosh. Can we be honest here? I'm tired.
Yeah, I can dig it.
The back in the office 5 days a week will take a toll on your body when you're so used to something different.
Yeah.
I was so used to work from home. So now I have to actually exert effort into finding an outfit, getting gas, driving to work, being there for 8 hours, being present, right? And then also trying to, maintain optimism when, we're in a very traumatic era.
We are. And
It's traumatic every day. So I think it's not even the physical, but it's that adding with the mental. I'm mentally tired.
Yeah.
I'm very mentally tired.
No, I
How are you?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm holding on, just doing what I can do. Work is going much better, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, I'm off the bench. I'm off the leash. I'm doing my actual job now. So I was like, yeah.
Oh.
So I'm definitely excited about that.
Yeah.
So everything's going well. So ladies and gentlemen, like I said, welcome to Dating University, where we discuss the good,
the bad,
and the ugly
of all things, dating and relationships.
Listen, man, we have such an amazing person coming on our show tonight.
Yeah.
Plucked us out of obscurity and reached out to us.
Yes.
To come on. And I mean, just the energy that he has is already oozing off. He gave us the opportunity to read his book, and Brittany and I are flat. I mean, we're just flat. We're laid flat from the book. Like, I'm almost finished. Brittany finished it, but I'm almost finished. Man, without further ado, I would love to introduce you all to author Scott Woehrer. Welcome to the show, good sir.
Woo!
Thank you. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Brittany, do you want to start? Because or do you want me to? You want me to start?
I don't even know where to start.
Well, I can start by making a comment based on what you said in your generous introduction. I could not have written that book without my divine partner, and she insisted I be honest, and I mean honest, like really honest. And as you know, Brittany, you've gotten through already. There's some sections in the book that are pretty gnarly, and I go there because we need to go there. We need to have these conversations with men.
There we go.
There it is. Yeah. So, good morning, my queen. How to keep up with your spiritually evolving partner before you lose her forever. And I know people. I know women who are in a relationship with a man who doesn't seem to quite be keeping up. He's not getting past a certain point that she has already gotten to, and she's kind of tapping her foot somewhat patiently and just hoping he can get there. And as men, there's not a lot of conversation about this out there. There's not a lot of, you find yourself in a relationship with your woman, and women already are more emotionally intelligent than men because they engage their heart with their mind when dealing in life and using that wisdom, whereas men tend to be just more cerebral and mental. We can talk about sports statistics, engines much more readily than matters of the heart, relationships.
Yeah.
And I just don't want men to get to their deathbed and then look back and go, "Oh God, why didn't
That's
I
what she
love?
meant.
Yeah, why didn't I
That's what
love
she
more
needed me to
freely?
be.
Why
God,
did I judge so much?" Exactly.
that is
So
so good. That is so
yeah,
good. So can I ask you a question to start things off? Can you put the title back up, Charles,
Yeah,
and the cover
absolutely.
of the book? Was
Absolutely.
this intentional? Because I play
Yeah.
chess, and so when I look at the cover, I see power, power and femininity. Because here you have the queen,
Mm.
the most powerful
Yep.
piece in chess, and you talk about divine femininity in the book. Can you talk about A, the inspiration for the title of the book, and then
Sure.
B, tell us about the cover art? So
Sure.
striking.
So it came to me. It came to me in a beautiful way on its own, and I said it out loud to my girlfriend, and she's like, "Yeah, that sounds good." I'm like, "It just came," and that's the best stuff. I think when you found your purpose and you're doing your thing, there's this flow you get into, and you know, songwriters say this all the time. They say, "I don't know how I wrote that song. I don't know where it came from, but I'm glad it did."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what happened here. Now, even the image of holding the queen chess piece. A few years ago, I published and edited a publication, a magazine that was metaphysical called Radiance, a metaphysical magazine about energy healing, yoga, meditation, that sort of thing. And so I had a graphic designer already who worked for me on the magazine, who did this cover. She did a great job. I mean, for being self-published, that's pretty snazzy.
Mm-hmm. No, I really do love the idea. I mean, because like Brittany said, it speaks to power and also the hands, because
Yes.
it's like you are acknowledging the power, but you're
Yes.
also handing over your power. Like,
Well,
Ooh.
treating her reverently.
absolutely. Like yes, like you are a queen, I am a king, but I
Yes.
give you that reverence. I give you that hierarchy feeling of like,
Yeah.
I do, and you mentioned it in the book so many times. It's like being your higher self doesn't mean you have to be overbearing and
Yes.
overcompensating. And I think that's so. I think that's really important, because you mentioned it shows like more insecurity, more fear, more sadness, more hurt. And you know, you give your queen the ability to be exactly who she is.
Yes.
It gives you she in turn pours that right back into you.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the beginning of our relationship 7 years ago, I was a beginner. I walked through fire to get the material for this book. I've lived this. Now, whether you consider yourself in a twin flame relationship or divine union or soulmate, you know, and there's different definitions for those, or some people just use them all interchangeably, and that's fine. But basically, if you find yourself in a conscious relationship, which means both people are conscious, and what I mean by conscious is, especially for a man, and this is the hard part, is getting conscious of who you are as a person. Who are you? And have you answered that question? And what are you doing here? Why are you here? And answering those questions are so crucial, because you need to know, like, for instance, why you do the things you do. Why do you keep getting in the same fight every time? And when the same stuff keeps coming up, well, that's a message. That's something knocking at your door. And that is part of being conscious. Like, why is that happening? Well, guess what? And I'll just say, 7 years ago, when I got in this relationship with Maria, we fell in love, and we did not know it was going to happen. We were friends for a year already. And then we were hit by lightning. And guess what? Whoever I was at that point, that's who I was in the relationship. So whatever work I had done on myself or not done was on full display. And with her as well. And I had to learn, because she was a very someone's saying, Andrea saying good evening. Hey, Andrea. She was a very spiritual person, very strong, very knowledgeable, ahead of me for sure. And I had to do some catching up. And because I did not want to lose her, I worked. And there were times I almost did. And that's what, like, sometimes I get asked what motivated me to write the book. Well, I didn't want to lose her. And I had to learn some things. So I had to realize, wait a minute.
Letting that ego go.
Yes. Managing the ego. And because it never goes away. And we need the ego. The ego is a part of being human. It keeps us from putting our hand in the stove, on the fire, on the flame.
I remember that. Yes.
Or walking into traffic. Yeah. But we need to manage it with, meditation and other things. Meditation, I think, is just so crucial. At least 20 minutes a day. Have that practice. Treat yourself to that. And it's about treating yourself. It's not something you have to do. It's something you want to embrace doing because it's getting in touch with yourself.
Yeah.
And if there's one common message I would say through all of this, I don't want to teach anybody anything except that you have the answers inside of you. Okay. If you're religious, people, the kingdom of God is within you. A lot of religious people are into that, as spiritual people as well. That was in the gospel according to Thomas, which was not included in the Bible, but was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And we're like, oh, okay. Yeah. The kingdom of God is within you. There was a movie with, can't remember her name, but it was called Stigmata. And she started getting the wounds of Jesus and everything.
Yeah.
And she was being chased through the whole movie. And there was a secret. And the secret that was finally revealed at the end is that the church, and nobody wanted you to know, the kingdom of God is within you. But for spiritual people that aren't necessarily religious, just know that the power is within you, the universe, consciousness of which we're all a part, tapping into that, all the answers are there. And that will lead you to whatever it is, whatever sacred text you want to read, whether it's the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the Upanishads. There's so much to get from all these sacred texts to inspire you, which I believe should be a part of everyone's spiritual practice.
Yeah.
But, and by spiritual, I mean, and when I say divine, again, not religious, just in touch with yourself, your relationship with life itself, not just your relationship with your partner, but with life. And so that's what I encourage people to go inside. That's where the real answers are. I believe there's two voices inside of us. One is the ego, and this isn't new, but one is the ego, which is judgmental, tells you, oh, that person, stay away from them. They're going to hurt you, or don't love so freely. Because remember how much you were hurt in that other love relationship? You wouldn't want that to happen to you again. And our ego just overcorrects, overprotects. It wants to do that. But there's one more small, still voice inside of us, which is the voice of our soul. Yeah. Which it doesn't speak English. It's not words it's giving you, but it's giving you impressions. You use, and it's called your intuition. And you use it actually all the time when you say, I don't want to buy that thing from that salesman. Something's not right with this. I'm not going to go for that. Discernment. Exactly. Exactly. And you have to slow down to hear that voice, let it come out, let the ego know everything's okay. Shh, ego, take a rest. I want to hear this voice come up. And some people call it their higher self. And their higher self is guiding them in life. And if you get to a certain age, you can look back and go, oh my gosh, I can see why I followed that path in retrospect.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Why those things happen, why that happened with that person. It all makes a certain cosmic sense. But in the moment, it just felt like you felt fearful.
Yes.
Because our path that we're meant to follow is not anyone else's path, which means there is no path lighting the way, like that Billie Jean video, where Michael was following the lighted path on the. That only happens when you step into it. Then this is right, this is wrong, and I'm on the right path. So anyone else's path you shouldn't be copying, because that's not your path. So We must learn to trust with a capital T.
Yeah.
Our own path, even if so I see a path over there on the right and I see a path over there on the left, and yet here I am stepping into the tall grass, which doesn't look like there's a path here. That is your path. If you're feeling it, if you're in the flow, if you're in touch with that soul voice, your higher self is guiding you. Now, I happen to believe we chose the life we were going to have on this planet pre-incarnation. I happen to believe that as an aspect of God, a child of God, a fractal of the infinite, whatever you want to call it, that we had a say in who our parents were going to be and what themes in life we were going to explore. Now, some people came down here to explore the theme of I'm a billionaire, you know, and that's what they're doing. Yeah. And
let me get a do-over.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, if that's what you wanted to explore, then that's what, so Musk and Trump, that's what they wanted to explore, and that's what they got. Us, we came here to explore other things, and you probably know what those are. Like I had cancer 3 times. I'm a 3-time cancer survivor.
Yeah. Congratulations.
So
beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing great. Still growing back some hair from my last one. I even had a stem cell transplant. So obviously my soul wanted to explore having cancer repeatedly. Now, that doesn't mean that there were not lessons for me to learn in it. And I did. I learned lessons about taking care of myself, cleaning up myself mentally, because I do believe disease starts in the mind. And, so I did a lot of work there. Did work with holistic healers, which is very valuable for me.
Okay.
And, but yeah, I always talk about this with men in my men's group in particular, which we meet monthly, where I live in Tehachapi, is that we all came here to fulfill a purpose. We all came here with a gift to give the world, to cultivate and give. Picasso said, and I say it in the book, our purpose in life is to discover our gift, and our meaning of life is to give it away. Okay. And the abundance of every person, like everybody would love for them to be handed $1 million. We're all like, hey, the law of attraction and all that.
The
secret. Yeah. How can I manifest and vibrate this money into my life?
A 3-hour movie to tell me to think it through. Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the thing is, life is about getting what you need, not what you want. And that's why we can look backwards in retrospect and go, oh, I can see why that stuff happened, because I needed to do that and do this and learn that. And that pain that I experienced there, actually, I got through it when I never thought I would. I thought my pain was the end of my world, but I actually got through it, and I'm better for it. I'm stronger for it. I'm wiser for it. So those are the things we came here meant to do. So, for people who are praying for abundance and whatnot, actually, you want to look at why you're here. And for one person, they say, well, I didn't become a musician. I became a stockbroker instead because I was told I was never going to make a living as a musician. Well, guess what? If you were born a carnation, do not try to be a rose. And a lot of us we're doing that. We were told at an age that those dreams were impractical by well-meaning parents and other authority figures in our life, because they wanted us to be able to survive on our own and provide for ourselves. But, there's a quote in the book: most men lead lives of quiet desperation. Okay. They are just
I highlighted that.
Like
they are. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Like we have this quiet dignity, I guess, where it's just we're used as a tool, we feel like, and we just go through and we just we trudge through and we are not expected to be our higher selves. We are looked at as one way, and that's what we're good for. So with being told that we're this one way, we shut down.
Yeah.
And we wind up becoming exactly what it is that we're perceived as, and
we reach for the alcohol.
Yeah.
To
addiction.
distract ourselves.
You talked about that. You talked about addiction in the book. But something that is especially mind-blowing, and I want to touch on this, if it's okay. You said it in your foreword, and I think, it blew my mind when I initially read it, because as a woman, we talk about having masculine traits, right?
Yeah.
But we never talk about men possessing feminine traits. So I'm going to read something from your book, and I want us to speak on the inner femininity. So you say, but also far too often, men neglect the inner feminine within themselves, the part that feels, that flows, that nurtures, that listens. And so do you feel as though at times women block that part out of men? They may have it, but we suppress it by saying, you're not supposed to feel, you're not supposed to do this. So I'm just wondering, what's your take on that?
Well, we all both have a masculine and a feminine within us. And what happens is, for instance, when we are very much attracted to somebody, and yet there can still be fights, anger and fights and whatnot, generally that means we have codes for each other. And we need to slow down and work them out. Now, sometimes that means couples counseling. And if you have skills on working through it yourself, you can do it yourself. There's just not a lot of conversation like this for men in particular. But yeah, we have an inner feminine that we suppress frequently. Now, some men are over feminized and they've let their masculine go. And they usually find a woman whose masculine is overdone and she is not into her feminine. And she's probably paying most of the bills. She might be cleaning most of the house and just taking care of business that the masculine is taking care of, but it's coming out in her. And obviously women are going to get very resentful of that when they realize that, oh yeah. But again, they are a match for each other in a sense. They have keys for each other, which they're meant to work on these things and realize these things. And the man in that situation who's over feminized, maybe he could be a great lover. He could be great with her kid. If she has a kid, they come together in a mixed relationship, but he's lacking in these other things, or he's not working. He's on video games too much. He's online too much for other reasons. And yeah, there's an imbalance there that is showing itself.
God. Is that sustainable, do you think?
Oh no. They're going to be fighting, and she's going to be resentful probably at a certain point, and maybe her friends will point it out to her if she doesn't see it.
That's when it gets
You're onto something there, buddy.
That's when it gets really
I've been in a couple group chats.
When the the group chat kicks in.
He's still on the game. How dare he?
Okay.
Yeah.
But she allowed it.
All right, Scott. What we do on the show is when someone says something very deep and profound, I gotta go. I get up for a minute.
I mean, yes, it's true, and
yeah.
Why do you feel like that's a thing? Is it because there's a need to create the balance in one of their lives, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, it is. They have the keys for each other. They have the keys to healing themselves within each other. Now, sometimes they may heal each other if they go through the process and do the work. And then they might look at each other in the end and go, you know what? I don't really see a need to continue this relationship with you anymore. And there might be mutual agreement on that because they solve those problems. And that may have been the purpose of the relationship. Or they may fall even deeper in love because those things are out of the way and they can just love on each other even more. But the way it's good. And men, as soon as you can, because in relationships, they look for the masculine to lead in this regard, and about healing, and even if that means, hey, you know what, I'd love for us to go to couples therapy, or even better, I think I need to go to therapy on my own and just go work out some things. Let me tell you, what's great about a talk therapy, because there's all kinds of therapy. There's holistic healers out there. There's past life regressionists. There's quite a lot in that realm. But for a talk therapist, you get to just dump all your stuff on them and just tell them all the stuff that really you shouldn't be dumping on your partner. You could say, well, hold on, I thought that's what a love relationship was. I could say whatever I want. It's like there's something called trauma dumping. Ooh. And it's frequent, and it's frequently too much for the partner to take. Yeah. And I know I used to do that, and I did go past her limit sometimes. So you find a therapist, and they can listen to all that, and then they can sort through it and organize it and mirror it back to you in a way that's helpful, that you can see, oh my gosh, I've been doing that. And I used to do that with my mother, and I'm reenacting my mother wound with you. Wow. I did not know that was happening. That's a hard one. That's a tough one.
And you spoke about that in the book, a lot of unresolved childhood trauma. Yes. That we don't recognize until we're in these relationships.
That's right.
And we
That's
see
right.
This mirror in front of us, and it's like, holy crap.
Yeah, like
and you don't even
like avoidance, and that's basically like you weren't given a voice as a child, or
exactly
like that. So it's our parents do a number on us, and I guess it is our responsibility to get to the healing of ourselves and do the work, so that way we're not continuing that cycle to push that on to our partners or our children or anyone else that's close to our circle. So
I'll tell you something that'll blow you away. Frequently, what we are most affected by as children is our parents' unmet dreams.
I think Charlton is about to get up, Scott.
I knocked him out. That was a knockout punch.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's coming through unconsciously.
Yeah.
So, and here's the thing. So they did their best. They did. They loved us. They did the best they could with what they knew, and they were doing it unconsciously. So the quicker we can stop that lineage trauma, the better it is. And let me tell you something. I went back to my kids recently, in their mid-20s. And I had this conversation with one of them. I'm going to have it with the other one, because I didn't have it with them before. And it's this, and I brought this up in my men's group, and that is, do you ever feel sad? And what do you do when that happens?
Mm.
And it even happened to me the other week. I was driving around, and all of a sudden I felt this sadness. And it just, and the thing is, it's normal and human for you to feel these things every once in a while. You could feel loneliness.
Yeah.
You could feel fear of something. Yeah. You could feel, many things. And what we tend to do when that happens is we suppress them, or we reach for the whiskey, or we reach for the cannabis, or we do other things, sexual distraction, all these things. And what we search after, as you read in the book about overuse of pornography, is we're actually going for a dopamine hit, not the orgasm itself.
Not the orgasm, right?
Yeah,
Woo, Scott.
It's a dopamine. Yeah, well, and dopamine.
That chapter is going to step on a lot of people's.
I can't wait to get there.
That's right, Scott.
Are we there now? Should we go there now?
Yeah. We can go there.
Okay. And it's good to talk about these things, because too often shame is swirling around this topic of pornography. And as I say in the book, in childhood, I find my dad's Playboy magazines, and I'm looking through those. And then a guy down the block has, really graphic magazines.
Yeah.
And of course we're curious about these things, of course. and it's natural to be curious. But what happens is when you learn about masturbation and you start doing that in private, it stays private. And when it gets to addiction status, it becomes a whole other issue, and it can take away from the relationship. It's one of those addictions you don't see. Like if someone's on meth, because their face starts to change and things start, about that addiction. Some addictions you can't hide so well. That one stays in the shadows frequently. And when it starts to become a factor in the relationship, when it starts taking away the sensual energy you want to really devote to your partner, and let me just step back a second. I say this in the book, I know it's normalized in society. And a lot of people are saying, don't even try to take away my pornography. And it's like, I'm not judging either.
I didn't get that tone when you wrote it.
Yeah. I came to realize that it was taking away from my relationship and myself. It was affecting me. And how can it not distort things? And I say, before you go to bed, would you go jump in a dirty lake and just jump right into bed after that without showering? No, you wouldn't do that.
Absolutely.
Well, guess what kind of energy you're pulling from this stuff that, who knows under what conditions it was made. We hear about sex trafficking, but here's the thing. What is so helpful is when men learn that they're actually chasing a dopamine hit, not just the orgasm. And that becomes an addiction of itself. And what happens is a guy's sitting there, and all of a sudden you start to feel lonely, or you start to feel afraid, or you start to feel whatever negative feeling. We haven't been taught it's okay that those feelings happen. Just sit with it for a minute. I like to say sometimes like a fart in a bathtub. Okay. It comes up, it's nasty.
But
unpleasant, but it's going to go away. And if we learn to sit with it and make a friend with it and say, you know what? I'm not lonely. I'm a person experiencing a bit of loneliness. And it's like saying, even with anger, I'm not angry, because we say, when I'm angry, and we see red. Instead, it's better to say, I'm a person experiencing anger.
Right, because we are not our emotions, and emotions.
That's right. But it feels like we are.
They do, but emotions are temporary. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like
exactly.
You're not going to be, angry all the time. You're not going to be sad all the time. They're like you said. They come and they go, and we got to be able to acknowledge it, experience it, and let it go.
Yes. Right. Exactly. Don't suppress it, because we've been suppressing our whole lives. So, and the reason I say this is because if you want to be a king in your relationship and you want her to call you king, on your own, not because you asked her to, but because she wants to do it.
Self-proclaimed kings out there.
Yes. And I would say, tell you what, honey, queen, love, I don't want this in our relationship anymore. I want to give you all of my sexual energy. I would like to receive all of your sexual and sensual energy. And let me tell you, when you do this, you have lovemaking like no other. I mean, it's so much better and enhanced.
Yeah.
And you say as a man, as a king, honey, I want to lead us out of this part of our relationship and leave it behind. Okay. I want to lead us together. I hope you agree with me. And I just want to devote this to you. And I want to find more ways to add that and just enhance the sensuality of our relationship, the intimacy, which is not just sexual, the intimacy without taking your clothes off. Mm-hmm. And she will love you for it. I guarantee it. And even if you don't think she would, or even you think she's okay with it, or a lot of women are just tolerating it. Let me tell you, I think there's a time limit on that. It's not going to always be that way. She's going to one day go, he's in there doing that, and I'm out here, and I've noticed differences in our intimacy. It's different now.
A woman can tell.
I'll tell you, a woman can tell. That's right. And I heard something. I was in my first interview. and I attached a link to it in the email I sent you, asking if you wanted to talk about this on your podcast. She mentioned, the co-host mentioned, she had a friend whose husband needed to have an iPad playing pornography above the bed while he was with her. Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah. So, and this is the thing: people tolerate these distortions, these things, until they don't. But it can go that far. So, and just going back into yourself, and there's so many benefits to quitting pornography. So many things return to you that you didn't know you'd lost.
Sure.
And your relationship will improve, and your relationship with yourself will improve.
Yeah. You said something in the book, and it just it changed my perspective, because you mentioned something about, yes, sex is sacred, but in introducing pornography into your sexual experience, you're bringing other people in. Like, is your queen not sacred if you're watching porn with a bunch of other women? Like, it just takes away from the overall experience. And I didn't think about it like that. Like, now you have this fantasy of other women playing, that's in your mind. Then you have to focus on who's actually in front of you. So your sexual attention is actually divided.
Correct.
It is. It really is.
I didn't think about it that way.
Even if people think that they can compartmentalize that and just put it to the side, come on, it's energy. We're made of energy, and it's all energy. And if there's one main theme in the book that I'm sure you picked up on, is there is so many rewards to just devoting yourself to your relationship, to your queen, that the benefits you get. And the fact, because some people might read this and say, I'm not a king, I'm never going to call her a queen because I'm not a king. Well, ask yourself, why not? Why aren't you a king? Well, I can't buy her a house right now. It's like, it's okay. You don't have to buy her a house tomorrow to be that, but show her that you're in it to win it. You're in it for the long haul, and you're all about something. You have a passion in your life that you're pursuing. That's why you need to find out what your purpose is in this life, because even if you're a musician, if you're a drummer, you're a pianist, you're whatever, you're pursuing it. And it's like we were talking off the air, Charles. Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, she talks about in one of her books that she was a waitress, and she stayed a waitress even when her first 2 books published. She made some money and didn't make crazy money until that book became a bestseller, which she couldn't have predicted it was going to be that crazy. And only then did she quit being a waitress. Well, she knew from an early time, she said to herself, you know what? My work, my job, I want to serve my art. I want it to serve my passion. So when you look at it like that, you don't look at it, well, if I can't make money playing guitar or painting or writing or whatever it is, it's okay. It's there to serve it. It's not the other way around. So, and when someone goes, well, I work for, an investment company. I hate it, but, and my father had a heart attack in his 40s, and I'm on pace to as well. I'm getting sick from this job. It's like, okay. There's a spiritual teacher out there named Bashar, and he says, follow your highest excitement. That is your purpose in life. Whatever your highest excitement is, follow that. And if it leads you to another higher excitement, follow that until you can't follow it anymore. Exhaust that if you can. That's what you should be doing. And the brilliant thing is about the universe and the way it was designed, the universe will conspire to help you bring your gift to the world. It may not drop a ton of money on you to play your guitar in front of people like these other groups and bands, but it will feed your soul. And when you're feeding your soul, you're a better soulmate to your mate. Because if you're leading a life of quiet desperation because you're not doing anything close to your passion, she can see it, she can feel it, and there's not going to be as much flow in your relationship. So find your flow and pursue it to the highest degree. And if one day a different higher excitement comes, follow that. And that tells you you're on the right track. Only you know that, not what your parents told you, not what your priest told you, not what your school, your teachers told you. You know inside. I don't know what's best for you. You know what's best for you. So do that 20 minutes of meditation in the morning and maybe even in the evening as well. And listen to your soul. It's nudging you in the right direction.
Yeah.
To your highest excitement. Yeah.
Scott, my question is, you talk about listening to your inner voice, but I mean, realistically, we have, like you said, so many external voices telling us who we are and what we can do and what we can't do, which adds to an element of people pleasing. How is people pleasing detrimental to relationships from your perspective?
Yes, the disease to please. I had it. And I remember in the first year of my relationship with Maria, I used it a lot because I thought that's what you did. When you fall in love with somebody, you smooth the path. You do whatever it takes to make her happy. But I wasn't being authentic to myself. And it started to show. She started to pick up on it. And then when I finally got hip to it, that was a revelation.
Yeah.
And because actually she wants me to be my purest self. And that wasn't doing it, and you think it is. So the quicker you realize it, the better. And then you start to, and it doesn't mean you're going to turn into a horrible person, not at all. Right. But you're going to be honoring yourself. That's why you need that 20-minute meditation in the morning. Honor yourself. Give yourself that time. And do you mind if I share my favorite meditation? It's super easy.
Please.
Okay. Ram Dass talked about this. The gurus have taught this for thousands of years. And it's simple, but it's not easy. And you'll see why. But it's so recommended, and it makes your day so much better. The whole day. It affects your whole day. I'm not as pissed off at things. I'm not as upset.
Oh, I need that.
Yeah. Okay. You close your eyes. You either lie. I like to lie down. I like to stay in bed and do this. I set my phone for 20 minutes. You got to do this in the beginning because 10 minutes will go by and it feels like an eternity.
It does.
You'll keep looking at the phone. Oh my God, only 12 minutes have passed. Okay. 20 minutes and you lie down or sit down, close your eyes, and you follow your breath. That's it. Follow your breath in and out. Now, some people imagine blue smoke going in and out because that makes it easier for them. Got these allergies I'm dealing with. And you follow. And what happens is you just gave your mind/ego something to do. And it calmed it. It's not on high alert. Whoa, what's going on here? I got to protect my man. I got to protect my woman here. It just goes in its own meditation. And then people say, I can't meditate because the thoughts come. I got a monkey brain, and it's okay. A monkey brain.
It's going to happen. It's
going to happen. But they come up a little more orderly. It reminds me of those old Rolodexes where the cards come up. You turn the knob. And they just come out and you say, okay, there's a thought. Now, okay, I got to take care of you. That's something I almost forgot to do, but now I know I got to do it when I get off this meditation. So let me just put that to the side and I'll remember it. I used to write things down, but I don't anymore. And then another thought comes. And then I realize, oh my God, I've been thinking of that thought for the last 60 seconds. I went off my meditation and that's fine. That's fine. This is the deal. Thoughts are a part of the process and they come up and then you just go, okay, you can go back down, thought, because we are not our thoughts, which is a tough thing to get your head around. Because if we're not our thoughts, well, what are we? Well, we're part of consciousness. And it's actually the space in between the thoughts. It's actually the space that you're moving into in this meditation as you calm your thoughts as well. That's who you really are. And that's the language of your soul. And all of a sudden you start to feel nudges in a certain direction.
Yeah.
And you start to feel, I got to do this, do that. Those 20 minutes which will feel like an eternity. And 10 minutes in, you'll be like, why am I doing this? I gotta go eat breakfast and brush my teeth, or it's the evening. I gotta watch my TV show or whatever. You owe it to yourself if you honor yourself. If you don't honor yourself and you want to swim in that dirty lake and go to bed without showering, and then fine. You want to be that person? That's one choice. That's okay. No one's judging you. It's your life. But if you honor yourself, have a practice. Have a practice. You don't have to call it a spiritual practice if that sounds weird. Just call it a practice. And you owe it to yourself to give your mind that time to rest and relax, so your soul can come up and nudge you, and you can hear that small, still voice finally. And you can imagine those nudges turning into words that talk to you, whatever works. Mm-hmm. It's up to you. You know what's best for you, but man, give yourself the time. If you just keep rushing about your day and, being efficient, nah. That's not the highest state you can put yourself into.
You're going
into, yeah. You're going into, the beta state or alpha state, whatever, and calming yourself. Give yourself that 20 minutes. It's a treasure. And guess what? Your woman will notice you're doing this. This is called doing the work. This is a part of it. And we should talk about that a little bit more, doing the work. But give yourself these 20 minutes. Honor yourself. Treat yourself like that. This is what a king does.
This is what a king
Do what a king does. Yep. He gives himself that time so that he knows who he is, and he's tapped into who he is. And so he can do his kingly things. And he doesn't do them from that ego voice, which came from our traumas, came from our childhood. It's these programs in us, programming us to always do things a certain way that is not for our highest good. We act against our own best interests so often because we listen to that ego voice. Yeah,
we do. We really do. And
I really, I really recommend it.
I'm still working through. I'm still doing the work.
Yeah,
and I can definitely admit that I am doing the work to kind of shed off the childhood trauma, the past relationship trauma.
Now, can you talk about that a little bit? How you do that? Like, give one example, maybe.
Yeah, the one thing that I've been doing, this platform helps.
Yeah,
tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back and look at some of our early shows, about 6-7 years ago, we were not in the best headspace. We were not our higher selves. We were angry, we were bitter, we were sad, and we had these, everything was like a negative connotation when it came to relationships.
Yeah, we were so negative.
Well, if I can jump in real quick. So if you're not conscious in your relationship, if you're not a conscious person living your life, knowing that you have that ego voice and just listening to it and letting it just yap sometimes, if most of us just think we are that, and we're not living consciously. So if you can get hip to that is an ego voice that isn't your real self, you will be living consciously. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want.
Right. And the other huge, and I mean huge part of it is my wife. Like, she has loved me through my bullcrap.
Good.
She saw to the heart of me, early on.
And probably nurtured it to come out.
Oh, yeah. And she did it in such a way that, that she had to establish, that sense of trust, because she saw that I wasn't trusting.
Yes.
So I wouldn't say hide, but I would omit some things. I wouldn't let her completely in. And to see how she has allowed me that space to be Charles, to find out who Charles is, and how can I elevate myself and elevate my relationship and elevate my family. And so with just those two things, and plus getting back into church and really acknowledging what God has for me, the work is being done. Will I still have my moments? Absolutely. The ego will, come out and make a scene. But I'm learning to not let it linger.
Yeah.
You reminded me of something. One of the ways people deal also with pornography abuse, addiction, and other things is just to always make this mental note: bring God into everything. Bring God into everything. Bring God into the relationship. Bring God into this moment. Bring God into your eating your food and you're appreciating. And if God doesn't work for you, some people use the word source or spirit or the universe or consciousness. All the same thing. And whatever works for you. And just bring them in. And it is so helpful to know that you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
That you have an energy with you, whatever you want to call it, the Holy Spirit, whatever, Jesus, and bring them in, and it will help you follow your highest course in that moment.
Yeah.
And they talk about that in the marriage vows a lot of times, bringing God into the relationship.
Absolutely.
Without question.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. It's a helpful tool. Anyway, go on, Charles. What you do to work out some of your traumas or some things you're tripping over that you're bringing into the relationship that you don't want to.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's more so of acknowledging, of what it is. Like, it's like I was saying earlier, like my emotions are what my emotions are. I'm not going to suppress them. So I acknowledge them, I embrace them, and then I try to let them go. I don't want to hold on to anything, that may be detrimental to my, to my marriage, to my relationships. So yeah, it's doing that hard look at yourself, because it's easy to point a finger.
Yes.
Like, well, this person did this to me, and no.
Oh yeah.
Why would, and I always use this little euphemism, like, you get to yelling about something stupid, or like, where's the hot water that I put in the freezer this morning?
Okay, that's interesting.
That's good.
It's a pointless thing. Like,
that's so
what
good.
happened.
Well, yeah, you don't want to fall into victim consciousness, and that's the world is running on victim consciousness. We're always pointing the finger outside of us to blame things, when actually everything is all inside.
Yeah,
it's always an inside job.
Yeah,
and that's not something we're taught, especially as men. Women tend to be more tapped inside because they're more in touch with their heart. Men are not, and we have to learn that before we get to our deathbed. Let's learn it way earlier. Let's make our mate much happier and our kids happier, because we're in touch with ourselves. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. I've hugged my inner child before. In fact, many times. Many times I have traced the problems, because, they say when you fight, it's never what the fight is about. You could have felt like, I'm upset at you because you left me alone at that party and I didn't know anybody and you left me. Okay, you're probably, someone said, Dee Dee said, that's so good. You felt abandoned by your mate.
Yes.
And guess what? That actually, there's a direct line from that moment with her back to when you were 7 years old or 11 years old or 3 years old.
Yeah.
And the sooner you can root that out and follow that, you can go, oh my gosh, I remember. Okay, I discovered something about I'm gonna share something personal. I was driving around and I thought I had a hot lead for a job that I wanted, and it turned out not to be, and I started to feel like a failure. And I didn't realize, I just started to feel bad, but I didn't know I was feeling like a failure. But I'm like, hold on, I'm getting one of those feelings, those negative feelings that I've told myself a lot of times. Don't just dismiss it. Don't suppress it. Don't reach for something to distract myself from it. What is this fart in the bathtub? And it's hanging around, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I won't say the word I said, but I feel like an F up.
Oh, you can say it here.
We don't care.
Okay, I felt like a fuck up. Yeah. And I'm like, why would I feel something so terrible? I'm a great person.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It's funny. I was feeling that. And then what I did was I looked at this text I'd sent my girlfriend like 3 hours before. And I had said to her, and I'm just getting started. And I'm like, and here's the sad Scott feeling like an F up and looking at that. And I'm like, how did I say that? And then I remembered how I did. I started to put myself back in that place of I'm just getting started. And I slid over to that. And all of a sudden I was full of myself in a good way again.
Manifestation. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's right. I'm a badass. I'm honest. I got all these other good things happening. It's great. So, that was very helpful to me. And that's, by the way, I think we started talking about this. I called my son who's in his 24. And I asked him, do you ever feel sad? Do you ever get those feelings? And he said, yeah. And I told him what I did. And I'd never had this talk with him before. I'd never, as a father, and, you know, his mother and I divorced and living up separately. And I'm like, I want to have this with you now. I want to make sure they know this. And I haven't had that talk with my daughter yet, but I'm going to. But I want to make sure they have the tools to, you know, because suicide is such a problem out there, especially among the youngins. You know, they're just, it's very sad. And I just want to make sure they know that there are tools and that they are not that. They are not, they're not messing up. And so anyway, that's just important message I think we've got to tell our kids and let them know. But getting back to the relationship, so trauma in our childhood creates these programs that makes us act a certain way when somebody does something to us. I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I snap at that person? Or why did I take that so personally? I know it's stupid to take things personally because when somebody says something, that says more about them than about me.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody insults me, well, oh my God, I guess I can see how their father treated them when they're, you know, I'm seeing more about their parental relationship than anything about me. But I took it personally. I snapped. You know, whether it was a driver who cut me off or somebody on the news or some politician, whatever. It's like, let's work through it. So, but you can learn and teach yourself how to follow that trauma. Meditation helps you. You can do this in meditation. Follow that trauma back to the source. And if your 4-year-old self got yelled at, if your 12-year-old self got the belt as a kid because you had a bad report card, and that's why I felt like I fucked up. Yeah. I hugged that kid. And in fact, my aunt is a therapist, and she even taught me there's a visualization exercise you can do where I got into a meditative state. I went back to that moment, and just as I was starting to feel the anxiety of it, the fear of it, which is usually why we don't want to go back to it, our ego protects us from it. They think they're protecting us from it.
Ego and our bodies hold on to it.
And I don't want to touch that fire again. Well, just when you get right up to when the fire is there, all of a sudden I put in my adult self in that scene, came between me and my father who would beat me with the belt and said, this is not going to happen today. Okay. You're going to go over there. I'm going to take Scott to the park and play with him because he's awesome. And that's what I want to do. So then now that's in my memory. I rewrote that memory. I brought in different synapses to my mind. Yes. And now I rewrote the story of that moment because you know what happens when you get beat or something happens to you. And the reason we have trauma is not necessarily because of the trauma. It's what we tell ourselves about the trauma that stays with us. The story I created is I'm a fuck up because I had a bad report card. Okay. So I needed to rewrite that story and tell myself an empowering story. I'm amazing and I'm worth playing with and having fun. And, you know, so this is doing the work. When you come upon that, just go into that. And this is something men are not told. We're just told to buck up, you know, and suppress that. Don't cry. Men don't cry. And some women even have a problem with men crying in their relationship. They think they're weak because they were taught men don't cry too. And it's like, I love Dee Dee's comments. She said, well, and crying, I recommend guys cry any chance you get. Some movies make me cry, some movie moments, right? And when it happens, sometimes I'll just be wherever, I'll be just catching something. I know to let it out because that feels good.
Yeah,
it's actually a really cool thing. Even if I didn't know why I was crying, I just.
Because it releases the tension, like it releases those negative feelings.
Yep.
It increases. It increases your endorphins. It does all of these things, for your body. But like you said, we were taught that so many times that like you're not supposed to. You're supposed to just be a man. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Shut up and do your job. That kind of thing. And for me, some things I will just has no effect on me, but there are certain people and certain things that I will turn into a complete blubbering baby about, and I make no apologies for it.
I love that. Yeah,
because it took me a while to get to that point of like accepting the fact that okay, these tears are coming from something, either out of a fear or a love. I mean, because as humans, we only have we only have like a few base emotions. Everything else is a derivative. So we got to be okay with that. So all right, man, you good.
What I appreciate most about my husband, he's the first man that has been truly authentic. And he didn't lead with his ego. He led with authenticity. Nice. And that's what made me want to align myself with him, because he's openly so attracted. Like, he is one that will express his emotions, all of them, and will say, I'm feeling this,
Nice. Good for him.
Work with me. He allows me to express my emotions, where he'll say, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And every day he makes it a point to ask, how are you? How is your day?
I have a request of your husband.
Sure.
I have a request. Okay. And it's in the book. I invite him to start a men's group.
And he's talked about doing that. So his mom passed last year.
Do it.
I want to do that.
Yeah, please do that. And I invite men to do this. Don't wait to get invited to one. Start your own men's group, because men are lonely. Men feel judged sometimes in their own house with the people they live with. It creates a safe space for men to come without any sports screens around. And all I do, so there's a metaphysical store in my town, and they are all about supporting people's, getting in touch with their soul and themselves. And we just ask for a $5 or $10 donation, and it's about an hour and a half. And we invite men to just talk about what is going on with them, what's working for them, and also what are they challenged by that they could use support in. And amazing things. What ends up happening is hearts end up opening, and we start connecting with each other and making deeper friendships than you would if you were just with, have a beer in your hand watching a football game on a big screen. Deeper things are happening, better friendships, and it's a place for men to express. I mean, the unregulated male ego is running rampant in this world. I mean, you got road rage, you got wars, you got domestic abuse, you got all kinds of things. And sometimes it's just because men weren't taught to express themselves, and they're probably not fulfilling their purpose. They're probably not doing what they were meant to do on this planet, because somebody in childhood squashed that, and this can help. And it's so fulfilling and rewarding. Women know this. That's why they have even if they have the crocheting circles, or in my town. And let me tell you, I live in Kern County. It's a red county, the reddest county in California, I think. And you wouldn't think that, there's a lot of guys that'll open up, and there's enough. And so we had 8 guys at the first one, 5 at the second, and 4 at just this last Tuesday. And I was eating dinner somewhere, and because it's a small town, you can just talk to anybody. So I was talking to some fellow diners, inviting these guys, say, hey, in about an hour, there's a men's group. You want to come? And 2 guys said they'll come next. They just couldn't this night, but they'll come.
Awesome.
And you can have little flyers made up, and there's a Facebook group that most people in Tehachapi look at that I posted on there. And one guy said, is it religious? And I said, no, but if someone wants to talk about their religion, that's fine. If that's what's important to them.
Right.
Or, but it's non-denominational. There's no agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just guys getting together and talking.
Yeah.
And see what happens and see
I really do feel like we need that. And it's one of the reasons why, I'm so attached to the other podcast, the Husband's Lounge, because, there's a space that's needed. Women have a lot of
space
they do where they can land safely.
And that's why the New York Times talked about a study where in relationships, if the woman dies first, the man goes downhill very quickly.
Oh, absolutely.
If the man dies, the woman tends to do better because she has all those deep relationships that she's already established.
Mm-hmm.
Men, they'll go, oh, she was my best friend. And what you mean is she was your only friend. You stop making friends. And that's what's really going on here.
Well, I am pretty awesome, so I couldn't blame my husband, but he has a lot of friends, so that's not
okay. Good,
but I can understand if I was his only friend. I can understand.
Yep, exactly. Kristen said, "Guys need spaces for guys to talk from their perspective." Sure. Absolutely,
and without the fear of it, being weaponized against them,
yes,
and being vulnerable. You said something earlier. I think Brittany said something earlier about the feminine, and you said it in your book. And I think a lot of men run away from it because of the word feminine.
Yes.
Again, it's that whole, machismo that we're just, bred up in, and don't be you're not no girl, you know what I'm saying? Like, be a man. If we can, for some people, I think who aren't evolved enough to get out of that mindset, we can use the word nurturing.
Yes.
That may give them a little more leeway into oh, okay, all right, I can do that, because
or cultivating.
That is an even better word. So we need those things. We need whatever tools we need to get men to break from societal norms and get in touch with their higher self, like you said, in the book. Do the work for themselves, and you will see. We set the tone for a lot,
and
especially in relationships. We gotta we have to be the ones to be okay, if I'm doing the work, if the wife sees me doing the work, I may not get exactly where I need to, but you mentioned it earlier. It's the effort that she sees. And that becomes an attraction. That becomes a more she can follow that effort, because what she's going to do, she's going to see your vision, and hopefully, if the vision is from God, then it's not even it's pretty much bypassing the man and going directly from God to us.
Yeah. Going back to the woman who is leading more in the relationship and the man who's more passive and feminine. She doesn't want you as a man to jump into her world. She wants to see your world and know that you have a world, that you have, the passions and the things you're doing, and you're not waiting on anyone else or counting on anything outside of you to validate you, because you have these insecurities you haven't worked out. Work out the insecurities, guys. Work them out. And if you can't figure it out, go to a therapist.
Love that.
It shows. They know. Everyone else sees them, but you usually. So it's just great to get a therapist or go to a holistic healer, or someone who does hypnosis. There's a lot of wonderful tools out there. You just what's that? Ted Lasso, that TV show on Apple.
Love Ted Lasso.
Yeah, and there's a
Don't tell
famous scene. There's what's the most famous scene that keeps popping up in the clips? It's the dart game, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So and the guy he's playing against figures he's just some yahoo who can't play darts, but in fact he can, because he went with his father before he died. Therapy saved my life. And he says, you know, I read on some graffiti on the wall by Walt Whitman. It said, "Be curious, not judgmental." Well, I'm here to say, men, be curious about yourself. Okay. This is what self-love means. And that's another expression that's important, but a lot of men shy away from. What do you mean self-love? What does that mean?
We talked about that part in the last segment. That's about real self-love.
Right. Exactly. So be curious about yourself, because let me tell you, people say, I want to be free. I live in America because I want to be free. I love my freedom. Let me tell you, my friend, you are not free if you have not released your programs from your trauma and your childhood. You got them. If you don't think you do, they say, what do they say? If there's a bunch of people around and you're trying to figure out which is the person that has all the programs, that's acting insecurely, it's you. You're the one. If you're wondering who it, it's you. So know thyself is so important. And that's my only religion. Know thyself and find out who you are, so that you can be that king in your relationship. So it's funny, the book is relatively short. It's not a huge, thick book, but it packs a punch. There's a lot in it. And
so much, yeah.
Yeah, and doing the work, that takes time, and that's okay. And I'm going to say one other great thing is to write a journal. Keep a journal.
Yeah.
And when you write it down, there's some kind of magic that happens when you write down your thoughts and what you think and who you think you are. There was a DJ years ago I heard on the radio. He took 20 minutes to talk about how every young man or old man should get a pad of paper and a pen, get in their car and drive as far as they can and check into a motel in a strange town. Mm-hmm. And don't leave that motel room until you've written your life out and you've figured out who you are.
Golly.
Okay. Yeah. Just do it. Just do it. And, a 5-year plan, whatever it is, because if you don't, your programs will lead you there and it will lead you to a place. And we say, well, that's just who I am. No, that's who you've allowed yourself to be, because you haven't stopped your programs yet. We all got these programs running from childhood. It's part of the human design, and part of the meaning of life is to transcend them. But you have to know what they are before you can transcend them. You have to heal them. You have to hug that inner child. You have to say, that's okay, that happened. I'm not to blame. What was that in Good Will Hunting? Matt Damon's character was saying, or Rob Williams was telling him, it wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault. And he's just crying. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't. I don't remember what he thought was his fault. But we create a story based on something that happened that haunts us our whole life and comes up in all our conversations, and we don't even know it. We just think, well, that's how I am. That's who I am. Yeah. You can change how you are by changing your thoughts, by finding out why you think that way. And yes, you are powerful enough to do that. You can do that. First, you got to discover it. Don't be judgmental. Be curious about yourself. You are, and by the way, you're worth it. If someone's never told you that before, I'm telling you, you are worth it. It's your birthright that you are, you can be a king. You can be, absolutely. You just got to do a little bit of work. And the king, to be a king, you got to do a little work. Okay. But it's on yourself. It's an investment in yourself. Whether you go to that motel room somewhere and write it out, whether you go to a holistic healer, whether you go to the therapist, you are worth it. If you think it's a waste of money, let me tell you, my friend, you're not free. You want to be free? Get free of all that stuff.
Yeah. Wow. Scott, we could talk to you all evening, but whew,
we would definitely love to have you back.
You gotta come back.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to.
We are extending our visiting professorship to you. And you are
Thank you.
always welcome here at Dating University. So your final thoughts on maintaining a healthy relationship with your partners or yourself spiritual evolution.
So intimacy. And somebody clever somewhere broke that down to say, into me I see. Intimacy, into me I see. Now, be intimate with yourself first. Yeah, you like that one, Charles. Into me I see. Be intimate with yourself first. Know who you are. Love who you are. Love on yourself. Do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself, and you will be a better partner. And you will have your love relationship will just take off will just blast off to the next levels. And there's really no end in sight. There's no, you'll just keep going, and your mate will love you for it. They'll be inspired to do their own work when they see you doing the work. And the rewards are so delicious. I'm here to tell you.
Love it. I love it.
That's my big final thought.
Okay, great. So here's the part of the show where we give our guests the solo layout, and you get to tell the world how to get in contact with you, how to find you, what you have going on, what are you promoting. So here you are. Good stuff.
Well, just go to Amazon, and look for the book, Good Morning, My Queen. And it's only a Kindle book right now. It's not a paperback yet. You can read it on your phone in two minutes. You can have it up. And if you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free. Otherwise, I think it's $7.99, something like that. And just keep exploring. Be curious. Be curious about you. We're fascinating. You are a fascinating person. You're an amazing person. In case you don't think so, in case no one's told you, in case you don't believe it, you are. Okay? Believe it. And that's, just pick up the book. And I'm on Facebook. You can find me. I have the odd spelling of my name down there. And I'd love to connect.
Well, thank you so much, Scott, for coming on and giving us gym after gym after gym after gym. We really appreciate you for coming on. We appreciate you even finding us.
Oh my gosh!
I don't even know how you found us, but I just saw the email. I was like, okay.
And he said, "Britt, you're never gonna believe this." And I read the email and I said, "Oh my gosh!" And then to give us the book to read,
mm-hmm.
If you could see like my highlighting. I was telling Scott before the show, I can say it to everyone. I am a visual reader. I have to highlight, I have to take notes. And so I got it on my Kindle, and it got to the point I went from downloading a sentence here and there to, I think, one page, I highlighted the entire page.
Oh, nice.
The entire page was highlighted. So I said, you know what? Let me just experience the book and soak in the nuggets.
Nice.
And I promise you, it's an 80. Is it 84 pages? It's 80 something.
Yeah, like 80 something pages.
But every page is worth it. It's a very easy read.
Yes.
Kudos.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And you know what? I'm also on Substack. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes. It's coming up.
Substack is where writers go, and some people have subscriptions. Mine's free, and I just like, for instance, I wrote about part of my cancer journey and some other things on there. Substack is a great app to have when you want to look at positive things instead of what a lot of the other apps show. And with these, sometimes world famous writers are on there. It's sort of like their newsletters, and it's a place where they're all together. Substack. It's a good app.
Awesome.
Well, definitely check those out.
Sure.
Thank you all for tuning in to Dating University. We love you all. Stay tuned for next week. I know, right? We're coming right back next week. We have our other guest coming on, Dr. Stephen Bell. He is going to be here, and we are going to talk about green flags in relationships. So
Nice.
I want you all to be here for that. Again, Scott, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you. This will not be your last time here.
Well,
and
thank you for what you guys do too. Thanks
you.
for what you're putting out there. It's wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Until then, we'll catch y'all on later.
Bye.
Bye.